Live from the J.C. Newman Cigar Studios in the great state of New Hampshire and the Gurkha Cigar Studios in fabulous Las Vegas, Nevada. Welcome to the Smokin Tabacco Show with your hosts, Matt Tobacco and Kevin Acuff.
And good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another episode of the Smokin Tabacco Show. My name is Matt Tobacco from SmokinTobacco.com. I'm here in the great state of New Hampshire, the Granite State, once again. And all the way from Sin City on the other side of the country, it's Mr. Kevin Acuff, who I am so proud to share the stage with again tonight. Kevin, how are you?
I am doing wonderful, Matt. How are you, my friend?
I'm busy. I'm tired. It's been a hell of a day. Just been nonstop. Work. You know how that goes.
Oh, I get busy and tired. I totally can understand that one for sure.
You go from work to business number one to business number two, then back to business number one. What a day.
And it just, the fun never stops.
No.
Yeah, I'm just looking at your hat there. You know, I actually need to procure one of the white logo hats so it just kind of blends in and I just kind of flow top to bottom with the whiteness.
We can make it happen. I didn't know you wanted one. So the funny story with the white hat, which is interesting, I originally was trying to tinker with doing like different colored, like multicolor stuff, and they have an option to do like 3 different colors, and and there's a rendering and it pops up, and I'm like, oh, that's awesome. And I tried to do like a red, white, and blue one. It was around the 4th of July, and then I was gonna make one for me and one for Carney because it's all about red, white, and blue. And I was gonna surprise them and be like, look, I made one red, white, and blue, and I ordered some. And I submitted the order. I did it. It was all in there. Like, yeah, the checkout was like, you're going to get red, white, and blue stitching. And yeah. And it came, and it was just fucking white. And I was like, what?
I thought you were going to tell me they sent you a red one, a white one, and a blue one.
No. They just sent white. And I'm like, what? And then I reached out to them, and I didn't hear back. And I just moved on to other things because I was busy and I forgot about it. So I don't even know why they fucked that up, but that's what happened. And now I'm like, oh, I just have white ones now. So,
I mean, it goes pretty good with like the old guy here.
So you know what? I kind of like it now because I'm like, oh, the white's cool on the black. It sticks out. The yellow's cool on the black. Really anything's good on the black except for like a darker color. But yeah, we can arrange that. I got to get some fresh ones for myself anyway, so I can add a couple extra in. But yeah. That's the story. So I gotta get my cigar lit because I need to smoke right now. But anyway, we do have a great show. We have with us a guest who has made some moves in the industry. In the last, I don't know the timeline off the top of my head because everything's happened so fast this year. It was after PCA because this happened after the trade show. But the new executive director of the Premium Cigar Association is with us tonight. None other than Mr. Josh Habursky himself. Let's bring him on here. Josh, how are you? Look at this is the man now. This is the guy. This is the guy who replaced Scott. This is the guy. This is the man right here. So, Josh,
Thanks,
welcome back to the show.
What's happening, Josh?
Thank you guys for having me on. Very excited. This is, one of my first interviews, I think, as the executive director. I know my last one on the show was in an advocacy capacity.
Mm-hmm.
Still, fighting the good fight on advocacy, but very proud to lead the PCA team and excited to talk about a lot of the things that we've been working on. I was the interim executive director for 3 months and have been on the job just over 3 months. So it trial by fire, that trade show, Scott had a family emergency and I had to step in there. So it was one of those things where I got the taste of that and kind of just haven't stopped ever since. We got a great team, Lisa Cox and Lisa Sigler and Glenn, and everything is moving full circle and full steam ahead. I was in New Orleans at the site visit 2 weeks ago, and I'm sure we'll get into some of that.
Yeah, absolutely. You've had a busy year. There's no question about that. And there's a lot to unpack there. But before we do, we're gonna take a moment to talk about some of the people that help make this show happen. And that starts with our friends at 2guyscigars.com. That's right, the number 2guyscigars.com. Head over there for an amazing selection of cigars and cigar accessories. Maybe some stuff you know and love. Maybe some new stuff that you haven't heard of. Buy something different. Try it out only at the number 2guyscigars.com. Josh, I don't know if you're smoking with us tonight, but I'll let you go first if you are.
So I have been every night religiously. I'm in my apartment right now. So after the show, I will be smoking the Rocky Patel Gold Label.
Oh, great cigar.
Smoking them by the box. And very excited this weekend to go with Max Bickler up to Buffalo. We're doing a political event at the Bills home opener.
Oh, nice.
So to do the tailgate with cigars, and I'm actually hoping to do the Bills Mafia, like actually jump in a table and all of that stuff.
You're gonna do the Bills Mafia table jump. Okay.
Yeah, definitely. Bought my Bills gear, and I'm from Erie, Pennsylvania, which isn't far from there. So chicken wings is a staple to eat, and so that'll be a fun trip.
If you do that, you need that. Yeah, you gotta. I was gonna say you gotta get that on video. Make sure someone's filming, man. I gotta see that.
I hope so. We'll put that on the montage. Like PCA, the executive director is crazy.
That's gonna go on the website, and like the next board meeting, it's gonna be like, so here's Josh at the Bills Mafia tailgate, and we got a little video here, and just everyone watches that, and you're just sitting there going, yeah, I did that.
And member of Congress too, which will make it even better. I'm hoping they jump in the table as well. So like I start it and then they follow.
That would be awesome. Get
on CNN among all the other news stations.
Just don't break your neck and kill yourself. That's we don't want that to happen because we can't lose you. But as long as you're safe.
I totally see Josh like right now, kind of that line from Top Gun. It's like, come on, Mav. Don't get fired on the first day.
Yeah. Come on, man. What are you doing? Yeah, I could totally see that. But that's cool. That's cool. Kevin, what are you smoking?
I am smoking a Tatuaje from the S&S pack, one of the CRA cigars.
Oh, nice. Did the new S&S did this year's S&S packs go out yet?
The new S&S pack didn't land. It's like I wanted a Tatuaje, and I reached into the cooler door that had Tatuajes in it, and this is what my little paws came up with. So that's what I'm smoking.
I look forward to that pack. There's always some goodies in there.
Yeah, last year's were pumpkins.
Yeah, they were. So I'm excited for this year. I am smoking the Redemption by way of General Cigar through El Titan de Bronze. This is a newer release. You probably heard about this. I'm smoking this for the first time tonight, actually. It's a bundle of them has been sitting over here, and I've just been waiting to dive into it. And I said, you know what? Tonight's the night. And this cigar is really good. It is a
delicious, I was going to say, it's a delicious cigar.
This cigar, not that I had doubts on it, but this has so far exceeded my expectations drastically. That is a great cigar. I'm going to need to acquire more of those before they're gone.
Yeah, I didn't know what to expect when I cut and lit into the first one of those, and I was like, wow, yeah, these are rotation worthy for sure.
That is a phenomenal cigar.
Yep.
So definitely check those out, and again, we got to jot that down for end of the year because. Yeah, one of us needs to get off our ass and do a review on it. I know, right? If only. But anyway, and then, of course, with us, as always, our friends at SD Dupont. That's right, shake up the legacy. Always cutting and lighting our cigars with SD Dupont products. I know Kevin has the Fluo collection in the Maxi Jet. I have these two beautiful Line 2s from the new Gradient collection. That's right. If this one would... There we go. These are fantastic. Available in two finishes. This light blue, dark blue gradient finish, and this yellow, orange, black with the black appointments on it, I think is really cool in the metal. There's a matching roller ball and fountain ball pen also available with this collection. It's fantastic. It's bright. I know Nicole loves these. She won't stop talking about them. I don't think she wants to. She wants to hold on to some of these. But Yeah, fantastic stuff. Ask your local retailer, because these are exclusive to SD Dupont retailers. Ask your local retailer for more information on all SD Dupont products, but especially the Gradient Collection. You should definitely check those out. That's a sweet lighter to have in the collection. So, without further ado, let's get back to Josh, and let's talk more about what the PCA has been up to. First of all, Josh, you're in this new role. You take over for Scott. He goes over to the CAA. I know you mentioned you kind of had to jump in there for him at the trade show. I knew he wasn't at the trade show, and you kind of stepped in and filled in for him. That was kind of your, I guess, your first foray of wearing his shoes, and now here you are. I mean, that's it, man. You've filled into this role all the way. You're now the executive director of the Premium Cigar Association. I know you've had a busy year so far. You've been all over the world. Different events. You were at both the Republican and the Democratic national conventions. You were at Pro Cigar. I think you were at Pure Sabor, if I remember correctly. Maybe I'm wrong. I know you've just been all over the place. You've been hitting the ground running, and you make it look easy, but I know it's not. So just congrats first. I should say that. Congratulations first, and then on top of all that, you got the trade show you got to plan. I know you've already been down in New Orleans. There's a lot to unpack here, but let's start legislatively, and then we'll kind of end with the trade show.
Stuff that Glenn works on, the federal stuff that I typically work on, and then the litigation stuff. There are, 3 buckets there, all equally as important. On the federal side of things, we're already preparing for 2025, making sure that, the industry doesn't face any draconian tax increases. Working with both parties to get our message across, educate folks that, premium cigars aren't just big cigarettes, which, believe it or not, some legislators still believe. We've been doing engagement events. Next week, we have the Congressional Cigar Caucus hosting an event with legislators, teaching them how to roll and blend cigars with Drew Estate. We're excited to keep that level of engagement and education federally. Also, next week, Friday, is a really big day for the industry. The FDA is made a decision that basically vacated the deeming rule and its application of premium cigars. So our attorney will present at the appellate level. Now the burden is on the FDA to show that they were correct in the law and in its application, versus us when in the previous court, the onus was on the industry. So we feel very confident and very good about that. We have to put our best foot forward in those arguments, but the arguments and the data have always been on our side. So hopefully the appellate judges agree with that. And then the state level, and I know in your neck of the woods, in that New Hampshire, Massachusetts area, there's been some concerning stuff going on with generational smoking bans. That's also, international. You're seeing it in Australia, New Zealand, the UK, but towns and boroughs in Massachusetts, which they have a very diffuse structure where public health boards basically have full authority over things, and they can arbitrarily make decisions that affect quote unquote public health. And some of them are creating generational smoking bans where you're not able to purchase tobacco products or nicotine products if you were born after a certain date. Very problematic. I think Massachusetts is a poster child, or so to speak, for the New Hampshire cigar market, as well as the liquor market. They're just losing out. People, this type of policy doesn't work. It's bad public policy. And, Glenn's doing a really good job at bolstering people to fight this, because what's next? Are they, gambling, alcohol, energy drinks, caffeine? They really, this is not just the premium cigars at play here. At some point, Massachusetts being one of the birthplaces of liberty and freedom in the United States, it's insane where it's gone full circle. And you see some of these towns like Concord trying to ban tobacco and nicotine products for legal adults.
I think that's the most upsetting, because that's how I feel like that's the new weapon of prohibition. Okay, so getting too much pushback on doing stuff now. All right, so we're just going to implement this rule where if you're born after this date, you'll never be able to buy it. So we're just going to slowly phase it out. And it's like, to think that, oh, my daughter someday won't be able to buy her own cigar and go to a cigar lounge, that bothers the shit out of me. Like,
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, I mean
look,
that's just totally jacked.
yeah, it's just like,
this is a sense of community that we know and love. I've met some of my best friends over cigars, and like I want other people when they're of legal age to make that decision whether to smoke a cigar or not. If you don't like cigars, don't go to a cigar lounge. Don't go to a cigar shop. Like it's very plain and simple. And this policy just adversely affects people. The thing that bothers me the most, though, is you get some people that say, well, it doesn't affect me. I'm 50 years old. I'll still be able to buy cigars. But you got to understand that, eventually that's going to hurt the retailer, their business, and they're going to go out of business. They're not going to, with taxes going up and other public policy issues, it doesn't become a sustainable business in this country. And I'm extremely proud to be the executive director leading the PCA, leading the retail community, because we have such a robust social fabric with cigars. 3,500 plus stores around the country. You have new ones popping up, and they have a sense of community. They're the only melting pots where you can talk politics, religion, the topics that you would never talk about anywhere else. I love that. I visit 150 plus stores every year since I've been with PCA in the past 5+ years. And that's something that I'm very proud of, because I get to see that firsthand. I go, and when I travel personally or, professionally, I'm getting ready to go to Intertabac in Germany. And I see, there's some great cigar lounges and great shops in other countries. But I was in Spain recently, and, they have government prices that are set where you can only make 6% off of that. So like I get to see, where things are trending elsewhere, and it's concerning to me. I want to see this as a small business that continue. Like this is quintessential Main Street America, and this is worth fighting for.
It's just when I see this stuff, it's hard to not really get political. And I know with the PCA, you have to be on both sides, right? It becomes more and more difficult to not be political. And man, there's people in this country right now that are really trying to push us to,
push us out. Out is just probably the best. It's the best way to do it. Is just like they're just trying to group everything together. It's just if it's not weed, it's bad.
And it's. I don't want to say it, but I'm gonna say it because this is what I do on my shows. I don't hide things. It's very communist. I mean, it reminds me of communist countries to see some of the shit that happens now and stuff that people are doing with tobacco and cigars, and like the first thing you said was like, if you don't like cigars and stuff, don't go to a cigar shop. But leave us alone. But leave us, leave us alone. We have our own place to go. Leave us alone. Why is it that you have to come after us and our way of life when we can do that without even affecting you? It's like, mind your own business. Stay in your own yard. Why do we have to do this? It's like, we have cigar shops. If that's what you like to do, you go there. Why? It's because there's a whole other agenda of things. And people want to come after us.
That's why we've been working so hard at, some of the state provisions to make it easier to run a cigar shop in business. In Connecticut last year, we got licenses where you can have spirits with cigars. If you go to an age verified location, if you're 21 and over, that there should be a simple process if you're a small business owner. I go to a lot of shops and I see, 5 or 6 retired veterans that decided, all right, this is my second career. I want to own a cigar shop.
Sure.
And they've over the course of a couple years, they go from hobbyists to some of the most educated on cigars. They want more. They want to go to the trade show. They watch shows like this, and they get all the intricacies. That really excites me, seeing the growth. Glenn pretty much sends me a new cigar shop whenever they open, or post it on his social media, and like that's gratifying. Being part of like this apparatus that affords people that opportunity. On the political side, I went to the DNC, went to the RNC. We had pretty much equal number of people attend both of our events. We have bipartisan outreach on both sides of the aisle. And I know that there's a lot of times this misnomer that Republicans are, very pro-cigar and things like that. Look, I have said on other broadcasts, House Republicans are the best on our issues federally, but Senate Democrats are actually better than Senate Republicans. So it isn't, uniform. This party's good, this party's bad. In Florida, one of the strongholds of the cigar industry, you have a Republican state senator that is basically threatening if marijuana legalization passes, they want to ban public smoking. That would include cigars. And he was very specific in mentioning that. So that, again, another example of how we have to tailor our outreach to both sides of the political spectrum and just focus on the issues. Like I tell my board of directors that anything that we do, it's like a horse racing with blinders. We're not looking to the left. We're not looking to the right. We're staying singularly focused on premium cigars.
Yeah, I mean, and first of all, we all appreciate what you guys do in all the organizations, and if it wasn't for you guys, then the FDA would be regulating right now, and God knows where we would be, substantial equivalence and all this other stuff, and I know it's not easy, and I know it's expensive too, but yeah, I mean, and thank you for clarifying some of that too, and it's, again, yeah, you like I said, you have to play both sides of it too, and you have certain people on one side, but then you have people on the other side that work better than the others, and it's kind of a mix. And but yeah, I mean, and I like how you brought up the marijuana thing, because it's like I remember several years ago when like that started becoming like legal by state, and like Massachusetts got it, and Colorado got it, and then Nevada got it, and then California had it, and then it's just more and more and more, and it's like I remember as a kid, it was like, you get caught with pot, it was like having like Coke. Like it was like,
oh yeah,
like,
you were
you
done.
know what I mean? Yeah, you were done. Like, oh, you have a gram of weed. Now it's like people go to the dispensary, and it's like going to the grocery store. It's like, yeah, I got some weed, and it's like, oh, okay, like, it's like no big deal now. And people are like, yeah, weed, yeah, it's the thing now. Everyone's doing it, and like now it's, I think there's people that have always been anti-smoking or whatever. I think that's always kind of existed, but it's just you're seeing it to a point now where it's like people look at you now like like they used to look at the people who used to smoke weed, and it's like, oh, you smoke cigars? Like, oh man, that's like oh, like what a scum of the earth. It's like, what? You know what I mean? Oh, but you smoke weed? That's cool. What happened?
Well, like when the when iOS and Android platforms, the apps are canceling and getting rid of all the cigar apps and this and everything else. But if it's weed, that's okay. You can have an app on there that tells you where to go, and obviously weed is legal here in Vegas, so you have an app that shows you any place in Vegas you want to go to find weed. But yet, if we had an app on there to share cigars and whatnot, that's not legal. It's that's bad, and we're going to ban that.
And it's funny because like you can't advertise tobacco products, but like you drive down the road here, and well, not here, but like in Massachusetts or in Las Vegas or any state where it's legal, and you got cannabis. Like I see more billboards for cannabis now than I do anything else. It's cannabis.
And it even has the price, and it has the price per ounce on it.
And it's like, what a fucking world we live in now.
Yeah. Like, it's crazy.
It's like, and here we are having this discussion with Josh about his trials and tribulations that he deals with tobacco products. It's like, what's going on right now? Like, what
Yeah.
is this?
There's no, nothing uniform. I think, you look state to state and you have different policies there. That's why we have to be active. I mean,
Right.
and cover a lot of ground. I mean, it's it's funny because at the federal level, a lot of the folks in the trade groups that are involved in cannabis as well as CBD and hemp, they are actually asking for regulation. They want to have regulation versus, where we've been. It was like, hey, this doesn't work for us. So, they have their set of issues as well. It's a little bit different. It does seem very paradoxical because a lot of the politicians that are very pro cannabis legalization are also very anti tobacco. So, we don't really engage too much about that. Showing those parallels, we really just focus on our product, our usage, the user patterns, the age, the fact that we don't have youth access issues, and we continue to have more and more data as the research is done. Tobacco 21 last week was formally promulgated into a rule. That's something that was like 5 years too late. Congress passed it, President Trump signed it into law. It's something that really didn't affect our demographic. Now, I know we get some flack. Personally, I think that if you're serving in the military and you decide you want to smoke a cigar, you should have that right. The 18 to 21 thing doesn't make sense.
I agree.
But, for the most
Agree
part,
100%.
that's not our not our demographic. And I think that the industry had to make a calculated decision, like this can't be the hill to die on. But then as it passed, and big tobacco and their millions of dollars supporting this, we stayed neutral in it. We didn't oppose it. We didn't support it. When it came through, they didn't tell retailers how to actually go about it. So, like, we did several meetings. We met with FDA. We said, look, this is low hanging fruit. Tell people how to comply with this because our demographic is older. We're the lowest priority for the FDA in terms of enforcement because we don't have a youth access issue. So, this kind of reinforces some of our arguments with the larger stuff. And, it's probably going to come up in the appellate level because you have, so many states that now have raised the age from 18 to 21. I think it's 43 or 44 at this point. And the other ones, a lot of them have done it by administrative action and not legislative.
Yeah, I know that everywhere in New England, it's all around here. I know it's all 21, and yeah, it's true. You bring up the military thing, and it's like, yeah, you're old enough to take a bullet to the head, but still not old enough to have a cigar.
Yeah, you can't have a beer and a cigar and relax, after a hard day. So that's ridiculous.
Of getting shot at and maybe almost getting your legs blown off, but no, not for you. That makes no sense.
If you look at uniform laws and things that make sense, I think it's the age. Age is certainly something that needs to be established. Like, and this is where I will, get left versus right a little bit, is like on the progressive side, like the voting age. They want people to vote when they're 12 years old or 14 years old, but they can't make an adult decision to, smoke a cigar or buy a beer at 18 or 19, or purchase a firearm. So
yeah, see again, like that, it doesn't make sense. It doesn't add up, you know.
It's just, if you're gonna make it, if we're gonna be 21, it needs to be 21. If you got to be 21 for cigars and for alcohol, you got to be 21 to vote. You got to be 21 to drive. And
make it universal. Like that's the age, and let's look at the science. Like that, they're supposed to do that. But that, when biologically can you make a concerted adult decision and get behind it? So,
I remember growing up as a kid, and with the exception of alcohol, which I know was raised. I don't know when it went to 21, but I know it was 18. It went up, but almost everything else was 18. Like 18, like when you were 18, that meant you were an adult. You could buy cigarettes, you could gamble, you could vote, you could go to the military, you could, you didn't have to have a parent or guardian. You were your own person. Like, it was like 18 was like the magic number. And then like when you were 21, you could drink. Now it's just like you got to be 21 for most things, or like they want you to be under 18 for certain things. And it's just like, it just doesn't make sense.
It's just dumb. There's no uniformity in it at all.
Yeah, I know. It's very, and this is a very good point, Josh. I'm glad you brought up the Tobacco 21 thing, because I feel like there's more to this topic than just like being 21 to buy tobacco products. Like there's a lot to it too. But yeah, it does seem that 21 is becoming the number, because now you have to be 21 for more and more things. Although I know, like you said, like there's some things that people want you to be younger for. So, but you're right. If you're gonna do one, it's got to be the other. There has to be one number, one age where it's like, this is it. You can do whatever you want.
And this, was important because they followed the law in this of what was actually passed, and they released a rule. Our concern was they were going to do a grab bag of other anti-tobacco things and make it more difficult for retailers. And that's why, I think, I want to say 5 or 6 weeks ago, I was on the call with the White House when they were discussing this. We were the first meeting about the rollout of this. They, finalized the rule. They last thing of input with the Office of Management and Budget, and Patrick Anderson on our team, and I, and Mary Sarmack from Smoker Friendly. We just, said, hey, these are our concerns. And also, hey, Congress passed this. It had legislative intent. This is what you should be focused on, not things like the characterizing flavor ban, the tobacco manufacturing product standards. The FDA was, focusing on all of these other issues that Congress never gave them the authority to. Recently, and this is kind of the last major point of kind of the synopsis of all things government affairs.
You're right.
The Chevron decision, having that overturned, that's really good for our industry, because now the FDA and the Center for Tobacco Products has to substantiate, based off of legislative intent, the ability to rule make. So, I think it really, and they've said so much with their unified agenda, the characterizing flavor rule is on the shelf for at least a year. Tobacco manufacturing products, they say, could come out. I think that there's a lot of holes in that, and it's certainly ripe for additional legal challenges. So, they're really going to have to do their homework, cross their T's and dot their I's when they come with further regulations. And like we've been able to, navigate the previous 3 battles successfully in the courts. Hopefully we don't have to do that, and we can continue to go on the offense. And that's where, my team on the lobbying side, that's very like proactive. The litigation is the costly reactive side of things, of when, that's our safety valve, both very important to an overall government affairs apparatus for a trading group.
Well, I think maybe I'm stating the obvious here, but I think Judge made this decision. What was it? Was it last year, where basically he came out and said that premium cigars are different, and I think, I guess, is that a good foundation for defending the issue and being able to fight the fight, now that you actually have a judge that has made that statement, declaration, whatever you want to call it?
Well, the FDA has also acknowledged that, premium cigars are different. The data supports that, and I think that's kind of what led ultimately to Judge Maida's decision. I think a collection of all of those facts help support our case. And the fact is that they haven't followed the Administrative Procedures Act in this. And it's very legal based. The core arguments are, I'm not a lawyer, so I don't want to speak out of turn here, but my understanding is that this level is now about the law. The facts have already been decided based off of that data in the judge's decision.
Okay.
One of the other things. So we talked about Tobacco 21. We've talked about some of the generational ban stuff, which I want to touch on really quick one more time. I know that we've seen it around here in Massachusetts. I haven't been on tabs with that, and maybe you mentioned this before. I want to refresh. How many other areas of the country is this really being pushed? I feel like I don't hear about it outside of my neck of the woods, but I'm sure that we're definitely not the only people exploring it.
So Hawaii and California have toyed with the idea, but based off of Massachusetts Constitution, they're the only ones that have taken steps and actually enacted it in certain communities. And I have asked the folks in some of the larger groups out there. So you have. This is a unified fight where you have the vapor industry, you have the big tobacco folks, and you have us. We're all kind of in that point together. And I said, do we have the ability to challenge this legally through the courts? And the answer was no. In the case of Massachusetts, that we would likely lose that case. Obviously we would want to do that. That's something that I wanted to see evaluated. But if it does pop up in other areas that don't have their state constitution written like that, we'll definitely challenge it where we think there's a path to victory. And especially if it were to they would try to do something like this federally. That there's no real shot right now with that. Congress understands it. I mean, we have almost 60 members of the Congressional Cigar Caucus, bipartisan. They get it. I think standard policy, and it's people understand premium cigars are different.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, because that's definitely something. That's something that I think not only worries me, but I think a lot of people. You see that, you're like, oh, so like this is a thing, and people are doing it. So, what
Oh
happened?
yeah, and once they see it in one place, and oh well, they got it done, so now we're going to get it done, and we're going to get it done, and then snowballs. And if we don't have, we don't have groups like PCA to stand up and fight the fight for us, guess what? They get what they want.
And it's gone. I know it's funny because I remember someone saying to me, it might have been like David Garofalo or something like that. Someone who's been around. They were saying like, I remember when California was like, oh yeah, we're gonna ban smoking in indoor places, and it was like in California, and it was like that was like ground zero, and it was like, oh, look at that, and then slowly but surely, it made its way all across the country, and now you can't smoke inside anywhere, for the most part, with few exceptions like casinos and cigar lounges or places where it's designed to be smoked in.
And the judge in Atlantic City just validated. There was a challenge in the courts where some of basically these front groups for public health, they got a few employees of casinos to try and ban smoking in casinos in Atlantic City and New Jersey, and the judge threw it out. So that's good to see. The other thing, and I'm sure that we'll talk a little bit about some of the other facets of the organization, but we're limited to Las Vegas and New Orleans for a continuous size to host a trade show where it permits smoking. So there's parts in Florida that they're just not big enough, or they don't. There's a certain section that doesn't allow smoking. So that those type of issues really hit home, and we're going to throw everything we have to preserve Vegas and New Orleans. And I'm very excited. The New Orleans Convention Center Authority, a lot of the local public officials there, when I did the site visit, that area truly wants the PCA to be there. We're a big footprint trade show for New Orleans. For Vegas, they host, tons of them. And obviously, I love both. I think we're in for a real treat with New Orleans for some surprises. But I love going to Vegas. I'll actually be going personally there for New Year's Eve. So, big fan of both. But, we have to protect the ability to smoke in those two locations.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, there's casinos here that are that are pushing pushing on it. I know like Park MGM, they're no smoking at the casino or anywhere on property. There was a couple other casinos that actually tried it that it was had a major impact on their revenue stream, so they did away with it. But you're still finding more and more places that you can smoke cigarettes, but if you light up a pipe or a cigar, you're an
And
idiot, and you got to
that's
put that out.
crazy. That makes no sense to me. That you can't smoke a cigar and they're going to permit people to smoke cigarettes. Like, that's again ludicrous public policy. I mean, I like going to casinos that have a cigar bar.
Hmm.
Where you can go but like if I'm going around to a slot machine or the table games, I'm courteous and respectful, but I want to enjoy a cigar. That's part of the allure of going to those places. And it again, it's very adult centric things. Gambling, you don't want youth aren't allowed in there. So to me, it
Exactly.
Right.
makes perfect sense.
Now, I think, and Kevin, you're in and out of the resorts a lot more.
Mhm.
You live there, and your job, I know, he brings you to the resorts all the time. Um, I believe it's so. Correct me if I'm wrong. I believe, from my memory, the last couple of times I've been in town, Wynn Resorts properties and Caesars properties specifically, I have noticed at the tables there are now signs that say "No
No
pipes and
cigars.
cigars."
Yep.
And I've had pit bosses come to the table and tell me, if you want to smoke the cigar, you got to go to the slots. And I believe it was at Caesars properties and maybe Wynn's properties. I don't think MGM's properties did it, and I don't think like Resorts World or any of those the one-off resorts. I don't think any of them have that, but I believe it was Caesars and Wynn properties that have now started the no cigars or pipes at the tables. But you can do it at the slots. But you can smoke
And then
cigarettes at the table.
there's some of the
What?
smaller ones that are starting to institute that as well. They'll
Like
have
Circa?
no cigars or smoking. It's okay to smoke, but cigars and pipes are prohibited.
Mm-hmm.
And they'll have that posted all through the casino. I mean, some don't allow it in the casino at all. They may have you can smoke at the bar, you can smoke a cigar at the bar, but at any of the gaming areas they can't, because their opinion is, and the reasoning that I get from talking to people is, well, cigar smoke, it stinks and they're all smoky, and it's pungent and it stinks. And it's like, do you really like? Do you know what cigarettes smell like? I mean, come on.
Yeah, do you think I want to be sitting next to the guy who's smoking Marlboro Reds, chain smoking them by the pack, and smelling that nonsense? That smells worse, if I'm being honest. If you really know the difference between them, that's gross. But yeah, it's just another one of those things where, like, as a community and an industry, we just get painted with, you guys are gross and you guys are bad, and the sad thing is it's one of the nicest, most giving communities there is on this planet.
I mean, one thing where I feel benefit is, like, I feel I've kind of benefited the whole process is, I mean, I deal with some of the executives and the VPs of these properties and companies that maybe aren't experienced with cigars or don't really smoke cigars that much, and they know I'm in the industry and I smoke a lot, so it's like I'll bring them cigars to try and enjoy and check it out, and once they smoke and enjoy or experience it a little bit more, then they totally understand where we're coming from, and then when they can see for themselves that these rules are stupid, maybe something can be done to turn it back the other way at some point.
Absolutely. Well, hey, I want to pivot really quickly, and I want to get to our news segment, and then when we come back, we're going to talk about the trade show a little bit. Our news is once again brought to you. Sorry, my browser is all over the place today. Our news is once again brought to you by Micallef Cigars. That's right, featuring the new black, the blue, and coming soon, the red. That's right, there's 3 colors now. Black, blue, and now red. Red, I think, launches today? Tomorrow? Tomorrow. I think it's tomorrow.
Tomorrow,
I think it's tomorrow. Yeah, smoke in, and then it'll be out. But our news this week will be some interesting news. that we covered on Spare Notes last week, but I'll bring it up again because I really want to celebrate this. Jonathan Carney is back in the business after what, a 2-month break. Jonathan and Carney has partnered with the Schuster family to launch Bentley Tobacco in the United States. This is a European brand that's been around since the 1800s, and their premium cigars are now, excuse me, I apologize for that, are now going to be available in the United States. This is really cool to see. I knew John just couldn't stay away, but I'm glad to see he's kind of doing something different, and it's an industry he knows obviously very well. And I know he's going to be very successful with this, and I wish him nothing but the best. But yeah, keep an eye out for Bentley cigars. I believe so far they only have the 2 blends. It's the green with a Rosado wrapper and the white with a Connecticut shade. Those are slowly making their way out to retailers. I know that board member Jay Davis, owner of Blue Smoke of Dallas, Texas, I know he messaged me saying that they are bringing the line in. So, yeah, and I believe 2 guys will be bringing the line in, from what I hear. So, yeah, I know that people are bringing this line in, and it's going to be available at shops. So start asking for it. Ask your local retailers for it. If not, tell them to call Jonathan Carney, because they all know who he is, and say we want to bring this line in, because it's going to be great. And that's our news for the week. Keep it brief, but yeah, Bentley cigars, man. I'm telling you, it's gonna be the thing. It's gonna be the brand.
And being that it was only a couple months after he left LFD, there was absolutely no way that he actually took time off from the industry. He never left. He just kind of pivoted just a little bit.
Yeah, he pivoted
as a distraction.
Yeah.
I
little pop-up food truck kind of thing.
What'd you say, Josh?
I sent him a note. I said, I'll see you in New Orleans, bro.
Yeah, he told me. He said, I'll be at the show. I'll be at the show.
Yeah. Oh, that brand is going to blow up.
He's a great person, so happy for him.
It's going to be real interesting to follow the trajectory of that brand. I mean, with him steering it, I think that it's just going to boom. It's just going to blow up.
Yeah. I mean, I'll tell you, there's a lot of great people in this business. There's a lot of great people running brands. They're very successful. But and look, I know that I have a very close personal friendship with John, but I got to tell you, one of the reasons why he's a person that I love very much in my life is because I have a lot of admiration for him, because he's a hard worker, he's a go-getter, and he is very successful. And he's someone that I admire, because he's just one of those people, man. And I know he's going to be successful, so I'm excited for him. I'm obviously, I wish him luck, and the way he does his business. When he was at LFD, I traveled with him, a bunch of times to events, multiple events around the country, for different things, and the way he puts it together, the way he promotes it, and how he knows how to do his job very well. So I have no doubt that he'll be able to really grow this brand with the things that he does. I mean, he's phenomenal. He'll cook for you too. I mean, the sky's the limit with him. There's endless possibilities with him. So, but anyway, getting back to the show, and one of the things we're gonna kind of close the show out with is our discussion with the trade show. So yeah, big elephant in the room, PCA trade show. Everybody knows about it. We're going to New Orleans in April. A little change of scenery from Las Vegas. And Josh, I know you mentioned that you already been down to New Orleans. I know Jay was down there with you guys.
Yep.
You did the site visit. So I guess, kind of at this point, what do we know? What can we expect about not just the show and the show floor, but is there any update on, kind of after hour stuff? I know you guys were trying to work on some things, and I know one of the biggest concerns that people had attending that show was, going from Vegas to New Orleans. In Vegas, there was places that people could congregate, kind of back to that casino smoking discussion. People could just go to the resort and they all hang out. New Orleans, I know that was kind of a question. What are people doing after the show because of the limited smoking availability in New Orleans? So, is there any updates on that in terms of is there any events planned? Are there any areas that people are going to be able to go to and smoke? What's kind of the status with that?
So there's going to be several areas where folks can smoke. Jay and I, we went to probably 6 or 7 different lounges, places that can, fit a good amount of capacity. I think we're going to see a return of some of the companies hosting, individual parties for some of their best customers.
Yep.
We are going to do a really cool opening party. Lisa's working on that. A little bit of an outdoor feel. We're going to embrace, New Orleans, the waterfront, some of the natural elements there. And then also, there's a lot of places in and around the convention center that have these massive patios. Hilton Riverside has a massive patio that can fit for 500 people. Manning's, actually the bar owned by Peyton, Eli, and Archie Manning, 500 person outdoor patio. So we're going to do our opening party. On the trade show, the one thing that we got questions in the beginning, and they're like, well, you can't smoke on the trade show. And it's like, no, we would not host the trade show if you couldn't smoke. So misnomer number one, you can smoke on the trade show floor everywhere. But we're going to have not only the PCA kind of side of things of how we did it last year, where we really built the enthusiasm from the show with the education sessions, with the presentations, with the hand-rolled segment. I talked to those guys again today. They got something in the works. And then we're going to go into the opening party. But I think throughout the time, we're facilitating with some of the brands independent parties at some of these locations that we toured. And we're going to leverage our members that are there. In terms of show floor, I mean, everybody saw the Davidoff release. Extremely excited for that. I'm talking to people that have never exhibited at the show. Lisa Sigler, who runs her membership, we are, I want to say 92% sold out right now. We're gonna sell out the show floor. Minor brands. I mean, it's very exciting. So I think the advantage with New Orleans is it is a little bit cheaper as an exhibitor to participate in. So we're getting some of that, a lot of 10 by 10s. We are going to have the Spirits Pavilion again. Some other fun elements that are new, or I guess accoutrements to a cigar lounge. So we have a chocolate exhibitor that sells chocolates to cigar lounges that pair. We have craft sodas that specifically pair with premium cigars. So we're kind of diving into the innovation side to make sure that we complement the full show floor, still obviously with the focal point of our associate manufacturers for premium cigars and pipe tobacco. Dues renewal started early. We're actually very much so ahead of schedule on things, and this has been the area everyone knew coming in that advocacy was my background, decade plus, winning awards and campaigns on the advocacy side. But I am most excited to work with Lisa on the trade show side and the other Lisa on the membership side to create value for our members, make sure that we have sponsorship. We're going to grow as an organization. We're going to have more financial resources as an organization, and I'm going to put that towards fighting the fight. And that's, kind of like how General Patton needed ammunition and gas to, fight in World War II. That's how I'm really approaching working at PCA.
And one of the things I want to ask you was, I know you talked about, memberships, and the show is mostly sold out so far. What was, and I actually missed the press conference for the 23 show. What was the attendance like for this last show in March? In terms of numbers, did you see an increase again from 22 on both manufacturer and exhibitors and retailers who were coming to walk the floor? And was that a substantial increase? I know I heard it went up, but I don't know much up on the specifics.
Yeah, it did go up there. So they did a post conference, which, that was kind of, Scott was leaving the organization around then. So it wasn't as in depth as it would have been in that transition. So like I've told the cigar media, my intention is to pre-conference so that we are all on the same page of, what's going on with the show, and then also doing the live press conference so that, we can ask those questions. Attendance was up, on both sides of it. I think that this year, especially on the exhibitor side, we just opened membership up, so I'll have better indications on the retail numbers later. But one of the nice things that we've been seeing, and as I've done more kind of outreach, we're seeing a lot of importers and distributors from around the world coming to our show. We have a booth at Intertabac where Lisa Sigler will be telling people, come to PCA, that, this is the Super Bowl. We're also supporting other entities and other organizations. Intertabac, we have a partnership there. Other cigar events, that people are hosting, whether they're independent retailers, Cigar Aficionado, different media outlets. We had a group at Rocky Mountain Cigar Festival. I pride myself on that level of activity. The week we went to do the site visit in New Orleans, I came from Chicago. Our other team was in Denver for the Rocky Mountain Cigar Festival. So, no one's going to question whether, during my tenure, that we're not going to sit on our hands. We're going to be very active. We want to hear feedback. If you have an issue with us, call me, and, we'll address it, front and center. I have a very aggressive leadership style, and the team has responded extremely well. We have a close-knit group. I vacation with Glenn Loop. I've learned so much from him. And, some of the other team members, I'm learning from them. And the board. The board has been nothing but supportive to me. I tell them sometimes, all right, it's time to take the training wheels off. I'm ready to go. I'm ready to ride. So we've been working well together.
Yeah.
I was just at Rocky Mountain. It was encouraging to see, some of the PCA contingent there and involved in that, because I think, from a show standpoint, that show in particular, there's a lot to be learned, and I think there's a lot the PCA can learn from that trade show to apply to the trade show. And that was encouraging to see the interest there, to go out and see kind of what makes that show tick and how it works, to kind of apply some of those fundamentals to the trade show.
One of the first changes that I made in coming on board, I said every single employee needs to go to several cigar lounges, to an outside U.S. event, and also needs to go to a cigar factory. So I'm sending all of my team to either Nicaragua or Dominican Republic. We're splitting up. They need to understand this firsthand. We're not going to sit there and talk and educate folks about the cigar industry if we don't know it ourselves and see the trials and tribulations. So, that's, I think, important. And the outreach, making sure that, they see you saw PCA contingency there. It's a lot more difficult for people to be, I want to say, critical or negative about the association if they know and know somebody that, all right, that person actually works at PCA. Let me give them a call and find out some of the details. And that's kind of the rapport that I want to, see. I don't want to see, the keyboard warrior type. We'll take criticism. Right. Don't get me wrong, but I at least want to have a fair shot at responding and explaining, the predicament that we're in.
Well, one of the things I see as a benefit from that is, so you have the contingent there. So you see how, I've always considered Rocky Mountain Cigar Fest. To me, it's almost like it's almost like a piece. It's almost, there's so much industry involvement in that show. It's almost like a PCA for consumers. It's not, but it is. All the stars are there, right? So it's encouraging to see, so PCA is there, so they see how, they kind of see what makes it tick for the consumers. So now you can actually share that when you actually come to the trade shows. You can actually share that with the manufacturers and whatnot, that, hey, this is an angle that you can use. This is what the consumers like. This is what the consumers do. And I think just everybody wins from that, because now the manufacturers and the retailers and whatnot that attend PCA, now you kind of have that little tidbit. Well, if you do this, you do that, or you do this, you do that. It's just, it the only thing it does is it just generates more business for everybody.
Yeah, absolutely.
One comment we had in here, and I was waiting until we got to the trade show segment. Joseph Seymour had mentioned a few times PCA can come to Texas. Now, I know that I heard rumors you guys were exploring parts of Texas to host a trade show. Did you find that there was just not enough there to be able to do?
Not enough indoor space.
That would prevent
Again,
smoking.
continuous space with
Yeah.
smoking. I mean, there's a lot of great spots there. There's possibilities as some of these convention centers renovate and expand that new cities will be open. But I think, the industry can expect, a rotation between New Orleans and Las Vegas. So we're in New Orleans the next 2 years and then back to Vegas, for I believe 3. So
Starting in 27.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
This would be the first year I had to travel for a trade show.
Yeah, it's great. I know that going to New Orleans, I hadn't been to New Orleans in, I want to say 6 or 7 years. So I was very excited. I told some of my board members, again, nuts. I started with the Bills Mafia thing. I said, I'm going to take the board on a gator hunt. Like, we're going to do this. And like,
Wow.
Antoine, our social media marketing guru, content director, we want to get some film of that, and I think that would be kind of crazy. So I'm already planning like social events, and typically we get, as the executive director, we get a larger room. That's part of like the contracts with the hotels. And I said, every single night I have a smoking balcony. I am doing like the passes, and I'm inviting people. Like, I want to be very accessible. And a lot of the folks in the industry that know me, that have hung out with me at events, like, I like to have fun. I like to joke with people, and be extremely approachable, but also, in that I'm processing things and taking feedback of what we can implement into our program. So like in this trade show, I have tasked our team. We want to make sure that the social elements and the party elements are recognized. I think that's been an area where there's been rightful criticism of the organization. Like, if you go to things like Pro Cigar or Pro Sabor or some of the other parties, we are a nonprofit organization, so we have financial constraints, and every dollar that we spend on, bourbon at the opening party is a dollar less that we get to put towards the advocacy fight. But there are ways through strategic partnerships that we can, present win-wins. So I'm looking forward to things like that, and, working with some of the liquor companies that are in DC to kind of offset some, or not in DC, in New Orleans, to offset some of the costs and really get creative.
Yeah, I mean, and I understand that concept too. We've definitely talked about it. We've talked about the TPE show, which, to be honest, I know Kevin was at it last. I didn't go this year, but the premium cigar footprint was even smaller this year.
It was significantly reduced from the years prior. At least it had the appearance that it was anyhow.
Their
be
party
interesting to see
and the
this year.
party and the party wasn't as extravagant as it once was, and I think part of that's it's some of the cigar companies pulling out, and not spending so much on sponsorships and stuff like that. And but I know that was a big thing, and people have been critical of things like the opening party and comparing it to other events. And I know New Orleans came up, and everyone was talking about, like, well, what's the smoking situation going to be like? What is the after trade show hours going to be like for people? Is there going to be events? Is going to be places to gather? And so I mean, it's nice to hear that obviously those are concerns that people keep talking about. Those are the concerns I hear about, and you hear that, and it's like, well, we need to do something, to make an effort towards it. And then if people are going to criticize, we can, hey, we've explored these options, with what we can spend and spaces available. And I get that part of it too, to be fair. And there's only so much you can do with what you have and where you're going to be. I do get that. It'll be interesting to see how this trade show goes. obviously, with, your new position here and new city and new opportunity and stuff, it will be very interesting to see how this trade show does kick off. And I obviously wish you guys nothing but the best. We will be there, so we're excited to experience it too. But even for the retailers, the retailers I think are one of the biggest parts, because those are the people who come to the show. They pay membership, they order from the manufacturers. It all kind of goes hand in hand. So wanting them to return to the show and spend the time away from their shops and spend the money to come, it's all that bigger picture. So excited to hear that you guys are doing, what you can.
And I think coming on board, I've had a bird's eye view of the trade show elements, focused on advocacy, but working for the organization. And I have a little bit of a fresh perspective. And like I always tell folks, I'm a consumer first. What do I want to come back from the trade show? And the retail side, that is our market. That is our target retailer. What do they walk away from this? And same thing with the associates. That's another, very close second target for this. What value are we providing both of those? And the overall experience, what are they going to come away with? Are they going to learn something? Or are they going to, conduct business? But are they also going to have a good time and have that social element? That's an important factor. And, I think that I would just ask for folks, this year we're going to do a lot of new and exciting things, have an open mind, provide some feedback. And, for the folks that haven't come to a show in a number of years, I would encourage them to come back, give it a shot, and be involved, be a good citizen of the premium cigar industry and support the association that supports you in the advocacy fight.
Yeah,
well, I mean,
absolutely.
To your point, that on the social side of it, I mean, Vegas is Vegas, right? But if you go to NOLA and you can't enjoy yourself and have an amazing experience on the social side of it, like on the after hour stuff, you're doing something wrong. I mean, NOLA is, there was just so much to do. There's so much to do down there and so much to experience. And it's going to be neat to be able to see stuff that's, it's not Vegas, it's NOLA. And it's a whole different vibe, whole different atmosphere and whatnot. And it's going to be exciting to be down there and be able to see that.
Joseph, to answer your question, the dates of the 2025 PCA Trade Show and Convention are April 11th through the 14th of 2025.
Yeah. I just told the team no voodoo stuff. I'm like scared. I don't like horror movies and that. The extent of my Halloween is buying Pete Johnson cigars that, are monster theme. But like I am petrified. We were at Mayan Import Company and there was a like thrift store and there were these like creepy dolls. And I'm like, none of this stuff. We're not.
Yeah, I don't like that either.
Yeah.
The big jazz bands, like I'm big on jazz bands, Muffaletta sandwiches, ready for those. Beignets, like they're not that great.
Oh no, beignets beignets are life changing.
Jay went to one. I know that. There's a few. Like there's a few different spots. I think you could do a beignet tour around New Orleans, but some of them are hit or miss. I like the coffee from Cafe Dupont.
Oh, Nicole drinks that all the time.
Better than the beignets. So,
yep.
So we started doing drip coffee, and Nicole started ordering the Cafe Du Monde with the chicory, and like that's her thing now. That's what she drinks. So
yeah, who told us about that? Was did we talk about that? I think on the last show that
we might have. Yeah,
that makes the coffee in NOLA different than anywhere else.
Yeah,
I think too, one of the benefits of it, at least from talking to the retailers, is the date change. Moving it up early in the year has been extremely beneficial to the retailers because you're not taking them out of their busy time. That's huge.
And it's during Jazz Fest, so like this is going to be entertaining. We have told folks like, this is something where the retailers can conduct business, come for the trade show, but it's one where there's so much going on in the city at that time. Like it's good to take their families. The folks take their families, go to jazz festival. There's other elements where they can be entertained. While folks are, at the trade show. So the timing worked out well. I think we're going to have some areas where a couple private events, a few political events that we'll be doing that will overlook the stage of the French Quarter Fest. So there's we're doing and I know Lisa Cox and Lisa Sigler are probably doing, twice as many meetings as I am on this, but we are having 5 or 6 trade show meetings a week about different ideas, some cool projects. And I know, Matthew, you have to run, so I want to be cognizant of your time, but the one final thing that I did want to mention is we are getting into, and you saw this with the partnership side with Toscano, we're doing some really cool stuff to highlight our members, associate members, and leveraging the marketing apparatus of the trade show and the PCA. And, that PCA logo is going to be very loud and out there a lot more, with collaborative projects that support the Industry Defense Fund, but also highlight, our members. And that Toscano project, I know a lot of folks covered it. I mean, that's going to sell out the first 2 days, from the retailers purchasing it. There's such a limited run. And we're very excited because it's the first air-cured tobacco coming to the United States. So it truly is Italy meets the United States, PCA meets Toscano.
Yeah, we've got that news story, and I saw that, and I thought that was very interesting, and excited to not only try it, but just kind of see how that unfolds. And I know one of the going back to the criticisms, I actually I remembered this, and I do want to bring this up. I know over the last several years, there's been a lot of criticism over the PCA exclusives at the trade show. Whether it's just they haven't been very exciting, or not as many people are doing them, or they feel that the PCA or the manufacturers themselves or a combination hasn't promoted them enough. The general consensus has been lackluster on PCA exclusives. Was this an idea that kind of involves the PCA with the cigar release that kind of is something different that can further highlight that? At the same time, I know exclusives are sometimes an incentive to come to the show because you get something you can only get at the show. It's exclusive to the trade show, obviously. Or is there other efforts by the PCA with the PCA exclusives and encouraging manufacturers to to be a little bit more engaged with them or whatnot? I'm sure you've probably heard some of that stuff, but I was wondering, kind of where PCA exclusives kind of sit with you guys.
So there's 2 big developments there, and I love the marketing. I love the seeing the projects. I'm a huge cigar smoker. That's why I think that this is such a perfect role for me. And the product hub was something that I thought was a phenomenal idea over the pandemic, but a lot of times with that, it was products that were available, not necessarily something that was interesting or exclusive. It was what was available, what folks wanted to move. That's changing. The product hub is going to be unique sizes or unique projects with specific associate members. And I say associate members because it's not limited to cigars. We have a few accessory projects in the works. There's going to be something that makes it very unique. The other thing with the PCA exclusives, I've heard that criticism. I stand with that criticism. I had a two meetings about that today. My intention is to make with the PCA logo, if folks are going to use the PCA logo, that's going to have to be authorized by our organization. So it will have to be a collaborative partnership. A lot of the things with the past that were launched at the trade show that, I would walk the show floor and I would see our logo on this and I'm like, well, where did this come up? And there were no financial incentive to the association. We want these to be collaborations that highlight, a specific company in partnership with PCA at the show. But we are going to take a more active role. I will say year round, as it relates to this year's show. We have to implement guidelines and standards right now for that. So I'm not going to make any promises that they'll be 100% implemented and ready for this year's show, but we are trending that way.
Yeah, that's interesting to hear. I know the last couple of years that's been one of the top negative things, on our post game coverage of like, what do we see at the show? And it's like, oh, the PCA exclusives, like there was stuff we didn't even know was coming, and then there was some stuff that just kind of felt like it was thrown together, or like it wasn't really being promoted, or it was like it just kind of there's a lot of different things that have been all over the place. So it's nice to hear that you guys are looking into that and kind of stepping in and being like, all right, if you guys are going to do this, like this has to be done a certain way. You can't just show up with our logo on the box and be like, oh yeah, here it is, like stick it over there on the side.
So now it's actually going to be special.
Right.
Yeah, it's unique. I mean,
as
again,
it should.
We are the leading trade association in the largest premium cigar market. We need to start carrying that stick, so to speak, and making sure that we have a level of excellence. One of the other things when I came on board and working with our executive committee and board of directors at our townhouse, we redid our humidors. I'm like, these look like shit. These would not be up to standards in a retail shop. And we have members of Congress coming here. So like, how can we, again, talk about center of excellence, give people awards if we're not practicing what we preach? So that's, again, another kind of, hopefully your listeners got a little bit of a dose of kind of my style in this. And I'm very excited for the future. There's going to be ups and downs and everything in between, but the team that's behind me and the leadership that is the volunteer leadership, we have our board meeting in person later this month. We're charting the course for 2025 in the future. And we're putting together some big picture ideas, ones that are off the wall that, if they work, it's going to be huge. If they don't work, I'm going to be hearing from folks. And I'm willing to take some of those calculated risks because I know that we're trending in the right direction. And fortunately, we've been set up for success. Financially, the organization has rebounded. The one thing that a lot of folks might not know is during the pandemic, Scott Pierce and I were the only ones for 4 months with the association. So I've seen it at one of its worst times. And, I would venture to say we're at one of our best times right now.
Yeah. Yeah. It's been a long couple of years, especially for you guys. So, and it does seem like it's going back upward. You guys have definitely made a lot of changes over the last several years, and it's nice to see it in a good spot, and hopefully it continues that way.
It's going to be exciting to see you steer the ship.
Yeah, I agree. But anyway, guys, that's going to be our show for this week. We're out of time. Josh, thank you for being here. I know you have stuff going on. I know you're busy as well, and it's great to sit down with you and hear some of these things that you're working on and some of your methods and stuff like that. And really great to be able to share that with everyone too. So just again, thank you for your time, and great to see you. And hopefully I see you soon, but if not, I know I'll definitely see you at the trade show.
Absolutely. Well, you're always welcome in DC. And I know, we just did also this summer, Louisville, Kentucky, NCSL conference. Next year, it's coming to Boston. So PCA will be hosting an event in Boston, August of next year. That's already on the docket. we would love to have you as an invited guest there.
Oh, we will be there. Thank you so much. That's very exciting to hear. Boston. That's
Yeah, though we had 400 state legislators at our event in Louisville.
Oh, wow.
I think it have something to do with we partnered with Sazerac, so
good move.
that's like one of the only events that I've gone to where Blanton's was actually something that was regularly served.
Yeah.
So phenomenal event, and we've set the standard with that. The first year we partnered with Rocky Patel at Burn in Indianapolis, and these two have just been some of our most exciting events. So we have a lot to live up to in Boston.
Yeah, that would be really exciting to see. I would love to. I would love to come. That would be something really cool to be a part of. So thank you, and
Hey.
definitely keep in touch with me on that.
Yeah, while you're in Vegas for New Year's, definitely reach out while you're here.
Will
So-
do. I'm definitely gonna, need a cigar. So we'll go to those places, and maybe if we want to get a funny video, we'll go to one of those areas that say no cigar smoking, and go and do that.
That'll show them.
Jump, fight the fight.
That's
Thanks,
right.
guys. Good night.
Thank you, guys. Well, guys, that's going to be our show
Thanks,
for
Josh.
this week. Don't forget to go to SmokinTabacco.com for more news, reviews, and updates from the cigar industry, and we will see you next week. Take care.